Coming up on Talk is Cheap, we're going to talk about all the hype about the Klerksdorp Spheres and if there's something more to them. Intelligent design or seeds of life? We'll talk about that. Talk is Cheap, or Cheap is Talk, and Talk is Cheap. I'm here with Dan Hohlfeld and Dusty.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And you're Dale Westaby.
And I'm Dale Westaby. And Lauren Hansen requested to talk about the Klerksdorp Spheres. There's a lot of
say that again.
Klerksdorp Spheres.
Okay,
It's a little tough for me to say. These were discovered in the early 1900s. But there hasn't been a lot of talk about them until almost 1979 when it came up in an article of a person who went there and rediscovered the spheres. Nobody thought of anything of them before that point. They're from Klerksdorp, South Africa, and they come from a pyrophyllite mine. What pyrophyllite is a sedimentary rock made out of volcanic ash. And this has been carbon dated, and this particular sediment that they found them in is 2.8 billion years old.
Wow.
So we're talking on a fossil record, 2.8 billion years old. You got some photosynthetic life, microscopic life, and that's it. So the huge debate is that these spheres are so symmetrical and well balanced, and
that they have to be alien.
They have to be alien. They have to be intelligent life. They have to be brought here by an intelligent civilization, or there are theories that these spheres were purposely placed into that sediment by a previous race, and this is where biblical people say that the biblical flood wiped them out because they were all sinners, and this is remnants of their civilization. Anything from currency to a toy or mathematical tools. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of speculation around that. There's a lot of claims going around on the internet too. They found them and said they were harder than steel, compared to other spheres that have been found in sediment that crumble in your hands. These were harder than steel, perfectly balanced. A guy named what was his name? John something. He's in this article here. This particular guy brought it to the California Science Institute and had it measured, and they said with their measuring equipment, it is so perfectly balanced and symmetrical that they can't look fine enough to find the imperfections in it.
Really?
And then these specimens were taken to NASA because he thought they were from outer space, and NASA dismissed and said that there's a lack of argon, and most meteoritic specimens do have argon in them. These spheres do a lot of weird things. At the museum, every time they'll look back, like you're not paying attention when you look back, they're in different positions. They're rotating, they're spinning, almost like they have a frequency about them.
Really?
Yeah, so I mean, they're really complex.
Do they have them on a stand, or are they just sitting on their, like in the display cabinet at the...
They have them in a glass display sealed where nobody can touch them. It's in a locked cabinet.
And they're turning.
And nobody can explain it.
That would be hard to explain.
And that's where all the hype is coming from, is, they're intelligently designed, and they gotta be, because what else could make these spheres?
I've actually done research on these, actually. When I was looking at the stone spheres in Costa Rica, and then I came across these, because I would like to believe that there was an advanced civilization here on Earth before we came around, to be honest with you. That's why we find the bell and mummies and coal mines and stuff like that, which are 2.8 billion years old or whatever.
And multi-hundreds of feet beneath the Earth.
Exactly right. So, I mean, I was always really just amazed by that type of thing, that maybe we aren't the most advanced civilizations ever been here type of thing. But yeah, this is really interesting. I've actually, like I said, I've done some research, and I really actually like this topic. They have that the round one that has the 2 grooves all the way around it too. And like you said, they can't, in today's manufacturing, they can't make anything as symmetrical as those spheres, and these are made out of stone, and that's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah, and so like, what could these be? Like intelligent design, geological record would say it could be, it's a fossil, it's a concretion, but clearly by the photos, it's.
Some of those look pretty damn big.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So as you can see, this is an actual Klerksdorp sphere. This is the picture that is famous on the internet because of the 3 lines.
Yep.
And look how straight those are. How could nature do that? And it seems almost polished around the outside. And there is not one of these, but there's 3 of these spheres just like this with the 3 lines. But they're not all like that. Throughout my research, I went online, and no matter whether it was YouTube videos or Googling, all my research pointed me to the same bullshit reiterated and vomited out and changed up a little bit in bits and pieces. And I was like, this isn't enough. So what I did is I contacted this museum that supposedly had these spheres rotating. And I said, I want some clarity. Can you give me answers? And he said, certainly I can. So he sent me the old articles that started all this hype and all the information upon it. And it just dismisses all of it. As you can see here, there's a picture of spheres in this article from 1986, and they're not all spherical. Those are the Klerksdorp spheres of different types. Mm-hmm. And there's one right there that has another sphere fused to it. But when this guy took this stuff to the Science Museum, he's not going to take his imperfect spheres. He's going to find his smoothest ones, which is going to happen too. You're going to have some that don't and some that do. Why are they circles, you ask? It's just like a snowball effect. It's like, why is a crystal a terminated crystal? It's how the atoms are attracted to each other. So you start with something small, like a nucleus, like a grain of sand, or a small, like encrusted fossil or a little crystal, and it starts growing. As water passes through the sedimentary rock, because these spheres are only found in sedimentary rocks, whether it's sandstone, slate, limestone, or this pyrophyllite, which is one of the more rare forms. And there's many examples of.
Well, you know your rocks too, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I am a fan of geology. Like, here's an example of a concretion. Tons of great spheres. This probably came out of a sandstone, and they're all clumping together. Which one started first? Probably the one in the center. Mm-hmm. And as they all grew, they merged together to make this clusterfuck. Like here's another example of like a concretion that was starting, and a lot of them start with a fossil. And this particular one would not be a perfect orb. Mm-hmm. Because it didn't start with a small nucleus. This one would be more like an oval orb. And they come in all shapes and sizes. Like, look at this. Huge concretions. Now, when these are falling out of this sedimentary rock, they're going to look super orby. Not all of them are going to be perfect centers. India. These are sphere examples from India. Here's a picture of the cabinet that these spheres are in. And
this is at the museum?
Yeah, and the senior historian at this museum in South Africa, his name is Bert Gaffin, and he said that they have lots of blasting from all the gold mines.
Wait, where are they at?
This is in Klerksdorp Museum,
where
South
they
Africa.
Sitting on the rack?
Yeah, there's no spheres in there.
They were stolen.
Stolen?
So the plot gets deeper. So after all this internet hype, these particular samples were stolen, broken into and stolen because of the value, because of all the hype. So, and there was only 3 of them. All the other orbs do not have perfect lines. So this is a PDF of the actual museum. So these are the materials that the pyrophyllite is made into. It's like an ash porous, like pumice stone. Mm-hmm. And it's just a strip mine. So here's examples of the material they were digging out. And here's some of the, non-smooth ones, because they're not all smooth, Here's a dissection. They cracked one open to see what it was made of. It started out with a small nucleus around the pyrophyllite, and then iron oxide gave it a hardened shell.
Okay.
Here's one that's not symmetrical with the ridges. It has the lines, though. Now, how do the lines form? A geologist would tell you they form from the layers of the sediment. So as the ash was coming down day for day, one day from the volcanic ash, the volcano put 13 inches. The next day it put a little skim, just like a snowstorm, you know. And when a sphere forms in sedimentary material, you can see those layers on the edges.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So here's more examples. Not perfectly spherical.
Yeah.
Some are, some aren't.
That one looks like a UFO.
You can see, yeah, that would be a crack dissection, and you can see the nucleus inside of how it started. If we go back to the pictures here, like Moki marbles, very famous in the United States, of sandstone spherical concretions. You can buy them on Etsy, eBay. You know, they're really cheap. You know, like Russia.
Wow.
Huge, just huge. North Dakota, they call them the North Dakota cannonballs.
See, if I would know better,
Spheres.
I'd think an alien would hatch out of there or something.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely,
The
you know,
raptoids.
they're not all perfect spheres. So, you know, you're thinking like alien egg or dinosaur egg, you know, like North
Yeah.
Dakota is known for its fossils, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and like a lot of debate with geologists is saying like these could be fossils of fungus, kind of like a giant truffle or something, you know, because everything was bigger back in the day. Like, you know, this is an example from Australia.
Oh, look at that.
Bosnia has some of the biggest spheres in the world. And with all of these spheres, you know, they've been around and for forever. Every culture has an ancient story about them, you know, and they're all different. Here's one with lines all the way down the sides. It has high amounts of pyrite. In fact, the Klerksdorp spheres they cracked them open. They found two different types. Ones that have pyrophyllite nucleuses with just a little grain of impurity, and then ones that are formed around pyrite, because when they cracked them open, there was actually metal. So let's go about the rumors, like, are they harder than steel? No, actually, when you test them on a Mohs scale, they're only 4 to 5. Steel is all kinds of different alloys. Steel's not an actual hardness, but it's between 7 to 9 on the hardness scale, so it's not harder than steel, it's softer than steel. Are they perfectly balanced? Definitely not. As you can see from the varied pictures, they come in all shapes and forms. Are you going to get a perfect one? Yeah, it's going to happen. The chances are you're going to find one. 2.8 billion years ago, you know, if an intelligent race is bringing all these spheres here, it's all throughout time, because North Dakota sediments, 30,000 years old. You know, the Klerksdorp, in the mines in Klerksdorp, 2.8 billion years old. Moki marbles, very famous in the United States for being natural spheres, natural sphere concretions. 2 to 20 million years old. They find them in all ranges of sediment. So it is a naturally happening thing. All the claims of that they took them to the California Science Institute and NASA are all false claims and have been denied by both of those.
And you figured this out how?
The Bert Gaffin is his name, sent me all the paperwork on the analysis,
Can you bring
claims.
that up?
In this article that he sent me, it's a full analysis, and it talks about it's talking about all the claims and all the articles and TV shows that have you know, just photobombed and like plugged in these spheres without actually collecting the data and not even stopping at the museum. Then it talks about the actual chemical analysis, metal analysis, hardness analysis, the actual shape and sizes. The claims of the people who have collected them were all different sizes. So people who came and got these spheres from these sites were like, oh, they're all this, you know, they're all 1 inch to 2 inches. The next one's like, oh, they're 1 to 5 inches, you know, and it was really unreliable data. But spherical concretions can come in all sizes. As you can see, they can come as big as cars to small as marbles.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Here.
there it is. You know, they don't even make gyroscopes. There was a claim that, you know, they know balance at the institute because they make gyroscopes. They don't even make gyroscopes. You know, and when someone's trying to write a news story, they're gonna put a ton of filler in there to make their story sound good.
Oh yeah, I can
You know,
see that.
and so this goes through all the examples of all the filler and all the bullshit.
To debunk this, we kind of went out on a little excursion.
Yeah, so I've seen these spherical concretions in nature everywhere because they're all over the world. No matter where you go, if you have sedimentary rock, you are going to see these concretions. And so Dan and I went out an excursion up to an outcrop where I've seen them before, but I wasn't really sure what we were going to find. And we found hundreds of thousands of spherical concretions of all shapes and sizes, all the way down to like a little pea to bowling ball size. And it was a little mind-blowing. I'm like, there you go. There's proof in the pudding. Like, did aliens put all these spheres here? I don't know, because they're not perfectly spherical as the claims are. They're not hard. They come in all types of different
but
materials.
Like you said, you could maybe search through them and find some that could really...
Yeah, oh, yeah. They were all shapes and sizes, and out of 100,000 there, we saw some perfectly spherical ones in the bunch. And if those are the ones you're going to take and put on the news, it's going to be like, wow, who made that,
It was a hell of a hike up there, I tell you what.
It was definitely worth the view.
You said it was, 50 grade?
Oh, yeah.
God.
50 grade, half an hour hike.
If you slipped a little bit, you were going on
Beautiful view, but proof in the pudding. Oh. And so, are these spheres out of place artifacts?
Doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it. They could be, there could be spherical things that are fossils of out of place artifacts from billions of years ago, but evidence here shows not likely.
This is interesting too because like the stone spheres in Costa Rica that I was mentioning earlier, those are, this kind of lends credence that those are more real to be some kind of an artifact or man-made because they're not just formed, they were actually chiseled or made. And of course, they're not just in sedimentary rock, they're everywhere. So that's actually really interesting.
And we didn't expect to find anything really besides little ones. Like I remember just some little ones, but as you can see, like there was just some decent size right in our own backyard.
That's really cool.
And you don't have to, no matter where you live in the world, if you live in a sedimentary area for your geology, you can find these spherical concretions.
Really? That's really cool.
And it depends like why, you could ask yourself, well, some of those Klerksdorp spheres are pretty smooth. Well, it all depends on the sedimentary material. It's not going to be smooth. It's going to be chunky in sandstone. But you have something fine as a powder like ash, you're going to get those smooth spherical concretions.
I can see that. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. This is a really great topic.
It was nice to get out and do some investigating.
Yeah. I mean, look at that.
The dog's possessed. Look at his eyes.
He says they're just rocks. What the hell are you guys carrying?
Thank you for joining us. I'm Dale Westaby.
Dan Hohlfeld.
Dusty Long.
All right, here we are in southern Wisconsin, and we're going to try to look for natural spherical concretions. This bluff right here has a lot of outcrops. We were looking for a bluff with exposed outcrops, and we're going to see if we can find some.
Is that it?
These would be examples of natural concretions. This one, you can see spheres attached to spheres. Now, depending on the sediment that these spheres start to form in will be how smooth the circles are. Sandstone, not that smooth, a little chunky, but ash or slate, you're gonna get some pretty spherical spheres.
We're only about halfway up this hill. It's like, holy shit, this fucker's steep. I'm getting exhausted. That's the son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what we were looking for. Oh my gosh, look at that face right there. See, some of these are actually almost perfect spheres. So, another thing is the lesser the concentration of spherical concretions, the more likely it is going to be spherical because it's not going to be running into each other. So here's a great example of erosion happening of the smooth sandstone and concretion formations. Spherical. Just beautiful. And this stuff can be found all over the world. Anywhere you have sedimentary rock, you have a high chance of finding some form of concretion and spherical concretions. And here would be an example of a concretion that has worn down by erosion and has a soft organic core. That's pretty cool. It's a good hike. Here we got some natural calcite formations. Pretty common in the driftless area.
We just got off the bluff there. That was a hell of a hike.
It was like really good
My
hike.
feet are like fucked up.
Yeah, there's a lot of rocks the whole way down, hidden in the grass, slipping on it. Topsoil super loose.
How steep do you think that incline was?
That incline there is about
Like the grade?
like 50 degrees. You know, it's pretty steep.
It is.
Hard on the legs, but definitely worth the hike. We found what we were looking for.
Yep.
Spherical concretions, and a lot of them. I was kind of blown away by the amount that we found.
But that's right in our backyard.